What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 14, Episode 6. So, Sheree's back home in Atlanta. She is, full of doom and gloom and moping around her house because she was stood up by an ex-con. So, the next day after arriving in Atlanta, Tyrone calls her and he's like, hey, what you doing? Like, nothing happened. And Sheree's like, okay, I'll call you back, and she got off the phone with him expeditiously, but she never did call him back. So Sheree is really upset that Tyrone had left her in a city that she was unfamiliar with. Left her all alone. And this whole thing about leaving her in a city that she's unfamiliar with. Okay, you had a whole camera crew with you, but let's pretend like you didn't. Girl, well, you were only going there to meet him for lunch, and you arrived at your destination. So I don't understand what you mean. It's not like you were going to be there for 3 weeks and you didn't know where to go and you didn't know what to do and you didn't have any transportation. You were going to meet him for a lunch date and then go straight back and then fly out. Not even go back to New York City. You were going to fly out back to Atlanta. Like, what is this thing about, oh, you left me alone in a strange city? Stop. We feel for you, Sheree. The guy stood you up. He was wrong for doing that. And we can definitely, be compassionate about that, but don't milk it. Don't lay it on that thick for us. So but she's not ready yet to throw in the towel on this relationship. Moving on from there. So Kenya is out to eat with Drew, and first they make jokes about splitting checks because last season when they met for dinner, Drew wanted to split checks, and Kenya was like, only broke bitches split checks. So Kenya ended up paying for their whole meal. Now, my question to Drew is, you think you're, Erica Jane. You think you're the old Erica Jane before her husband got indicted. You think you're Erica Jane. You think you're Lisa Vanderpump. You think you're something that you're not because you want to travel with an entourage. You have 50 million assistants around you at any given time. Why would you want to split a dinner with anybody? Like, why would you want, if you are living that large and you got that kind of money, why do you want to split checks? That's my only question to you, Drew. So we talk about the trip to New York, and Drew felt like she was sideswiped by Sonya. She didn't understand where Sonya was coming from. Oh, one thing that I forgot to mention in my previous review was when Sonya confronted Drew about all the issues that she had with her. Drew had asked Sonya, well, why didn't you bring this up when you were in my hotel room? And Sonya had said, well, she had a whole bunch of people in there. She had assistants upon assistants upon assistants in that little tiny hotel room. So it really wasn't the place to talk about something so personal. And so Drew talked about how then Sonya said that Drew's makeup artist had touched up her makeup while she was up there. Now she says touched up her makeup, and Drew called it, my makeup artist even did your makeup, and so you had plenty of time to talk to me in my room instead of bringing this out into the open like this. So Drew felt sideswiped by Sonya. Drew tells Kenya that, this was a time for us to support Candy and her play. It wasn't the time to start bickering or to bring up any kind of negativity. So I don't understand where Sonya was coming from. So then they talk about Sonya's photo shoot. Sonya has invited some of the girls to her photo shoot for her for her blog called Mommy Nation. And Kenya had mentioned, the photo shoot, and she asked Drew if she was going to come or if she's going to be there. And Drew said that she was invited, but then she was uninvited by Sonya. And Sonya had sent her a text message saying that the photo shoot really wasn't the place for them to start communicating again, and that they were going to make arrangements to meet up later at another time and date or whatever. And I just think it's so tacky to invite and then to disinvite someone. It's so tacky. I think that when you invite someone, unless someone is going to be a threat to your safety or someone else's safety, or if some, don't do that. Invite and to me, it is so tacky. It is so rude. It's just so wrong to do that. Keep your invitation and then just try to be as mature as you possibly can at the event. You invited someone, keep the invitation. Don't disinvite them. Now, if they choose not to come, that's their thing. But don't give and then take back. That was just really tacky of Sonya. Like, I really wonder about Sonya sometimes. So then they make a joke. They start joking about, Drew asking Kenya to unblock her on Instagram or something. And Kenya was like, oh, I didn't know I had you blocked. Moving on from there. So it is a day of Sonya's photo shoot. Mommy Nation is her blog platform, and she has stuff going on with that. Oh, she was trying to promote the photo shoot or the blog post, the her blog platform. She's trying to promote. I don't know what the hell Mommy Nation is. These women have so many damn businesses. It's hard to keep up with what the hell they're doing. I guess Mommy Nation is a blog. It's an online blog about motherhood, and she wants to promote it. So Kenya arrives, and Kenya acts like she had no idea that she was going to be in the photo shoot. And so I'm pretty sure everybody was wondering, so what the hell did you think you were invited to? Kenya says that she thought she was just invited to watch the photo shoot, but not be in it. And so Sonya tells her, no, you're going to be in my photo shoot. And then Kenya was like, well, girl, you should have talked to my agent about it. And then Candy talks about how, for Kenya to show up for anything, you're going to have to pay her. Kenya is not going to help you make money without helping herself make money. But at the end of it all, she goes ahead and she agrees to be in the photo shoot for free. They do the photo shoot. Looks like a whole bunch of fun. Moving on from there. So Sonya said that she had invited only Kenya and Candy because those are the two that she felt the most connected with. Kenya tells Candy and Sonya about what happened with Sheree, how she was stood up by Tyrone, and some paparazzi or some person had taken a picture of Sheree sitting outside this cafe in the cold all by herself. And this photo had circulated online supposedly. And she looks really sad. Supposedly she's crying in the picture, but it was taken from such a distance. I don't know how they could tell that she was crying, but allegedly she was crying in this picture. And Sonya said that she had made the right choice by not sleeping or by stopping to sleep with Tyrone when she did, because Sheree had decided that she was no longer going to sleep with Tyrone when he got released from prison, because she wanted to see exactly where the relationship was going. So it was a good thing that she had stopped doing all of that. To me, it doesn't make any difference. If you had already slept with him already, the fact that you made this decision midway to stop doing that, what difference does it make? The emotions are still there. You already did what you did. You're still wrapped up in the feelings. So what difference does it make if you had stopped sleeping with him after you were already sleeping with him? I didn't understand that. Now let's go back to this picture of Sheree outside of this cafe by herself. For some reason, I feel like all of this, it was just some type of publicity stunt. I don't think it was anything genuine. That's the reason why she insisted on sitting outside in the cold by herself instead of going into the restaurant, because she wanted to create this picture of her being stood up and, coming across as the victim to elicit people's sympathies. It was just stunts to me. This picture was just stunts. I think she herself planted this picture on the internet to have people talk about her, because I would have been embarrassed. I would have been so embarrassed if someone had taken a picture of me without me knowing, of me sitting outside. And why is the assumption that she's sitting outside waiting for Tyrone? If someone took a picture of her, they wouldn't have known why she was sitting out there. I mean, she could have been waiting 5 minutes for a friend to show up for lunch. It wasn't, how would you have known that she was sitting there for 3 hours waiting for her boyfriend to show? He never did show up. She kept calling him. He wasn't answering. Oh my God, poor Sheree. How would anybody have known that this was what was going on in that picture? So I think the picture was just stunts. Moving on from that, Marlo. She is planning a singles ladies event for Sheree, to make her feel better, to show support for Sheree. Okay, some ex-con stood her up. It wasn't like somebody died in her family. It wasn't like she lost her pet. Some ex-con stood her up. Some dude had something better to do than to go meet Sheree at a cafe. That's what happened. Okay, a man, that's the only thing that happened. So this whole thing of, oh my God, let's be there for Sheree. Let's have this special single ladies night for Sheree to make her feel better. Did she break up with the guy? Like, why are we acting like somebody died? Why are we acting like she didn't get this much attention when she got divorced from her ex football playing husband, the father of her kids? No one gave a damn about that. But this guy doesn't show up for whatever lunch date with her, and all of a sudden is, oh, poor Sheree. Oh my God, we have to be there for Sheree. I didn't get it. It was just doing the most. So Kenya was supposed to come up. She was supposed to show up as well. It was going to be all the single ladies, Sheree, Marlo, and Kenya. And, Kenya was supposed to bring food, and she was supposed to be in charge of the massage therapist, all this, and that. Well, Kenya calls Marlo, letting her know that she's not going to be able to make it because she is not feeling well. And she's FaceTiming Marlo, which she shouldn't have done. Maybe she should have just called her. But she's FaceTiming Marlo, and Marlo can see that Kenya is in full glam. She's got the hair down, the makeup done, and everything. So Marlo thinks that she's just trying to get out of it because she has other plans to go do something else. So Kenya is going to be sending Drew to bring all the stuff that she couldn't bring, so on and so forth. Moving on to Sonia. Sonia's shopping with her mom because Sonia herself is planning an event where she's going to be teaching the girls how to cook Jamaican food, how to cook a Jamaican dinner. So she tells her mom she's not sure if she's going to invite Drew because Drew had told Kenya that Sonia doesn't have a mind of her own, that's exactly what happened. When Kenya and Drew went out to eat, Drew did tell Kenya, it seems like Sonia doesn't have a mind of her own when she was inviting and disinviting and doing all this crazy stuff to Drew. So my question to Sonia is, why are you so mad at Drew for saying that about you when you're the one that kind of started all of this mess? Because you questioned her actions with Sheree. You questioned her business in front of all the other women. Why wouldn't Drew have any kind of negative feelings towards you? So, Sonia, what is she supposed to do? Give you a round of applause for embarrassing her in front of all the other ladies? Of course she's going to say something negative about you. And I think it's really strange that, Sonia, you felt offended by that when you're the one that was trying to call her out on a whole bunch of nonsense. Moving on from that, Marlo. So Drew comes over with all the stuff that Kenya was supposed to bring, and they talk about why they themselves were not invited. No, they talk about why more so Marlo wasn't invited, because Drew was invited, but uninvited. Marlo was never invited, and Sheree wasn't invited. So they talk about that, and Marlo says she thinks it's because Candy and Kenya have the biggest following. So Sonia is trying to attach herself to the most popular girls in the group to help herself out, her and her business out. But if that was the case, why would she even bother inviting Drew? Because Drew has the smallest following out of all the women on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. So why would she even invite Drew if it was just about inviting people who have the biggest following? And if that is the case, then Sonia should have invited all of them because they all have a pretty decent following except for Drew. Marlo is popping, Kenya, Candy, Sheree's getting there, I guess. She should have invited all of them. Why? It just didn't make any sense that she was doing this just for clout. Because if she really was, she still would have invited all of them. Because Marlo has a pretty decent following, so I didn't get that. So back to Sonia. She receives a text from Drew because she's invited all the women. Sonia has invited all the women to her cooking class. And Drew respectfully declines. And she says that she tells Marlo, I just don't want to be fake. It's not in me. It's not in my spirit. It's not in my soul. It's not in my bones to be fake. So I'm not even going to show up because I can't be fake. And Marlo told her what you should do. You should still show up and just be mature about it. Moving on from there. Sheree. She is holed up in her house, snacking, talking to herself, moping around because she's so depressed about Tyrone not showing up for lunch. And she says that she needs this time just to process everything. Now, I thought someone had said that Tyrone is living with another woman or something, but for whatever reason, her being stood up is what's causing all of this doom and gloom in her because he didn't show up for lunch. And what I don't understand either is when the producer came and told her that he couldn't come because of some possibility of him violating the terms of his probation or the terms of his parole, wouldn't that have made her feel better? Because it wasn't like he was standing her up. It wasn't like he just was like, I'm not going to show up and I'm not going to communicate with her. There was something going on. He couldn't come. And as far as the communication, well, the producers even couldn't get in touch with him. They had to talk to his attorney. And the attorney was the one. Maybe there was something wrong with his phone. Maybe his phone got confiscated. Maybe his phone had broken down. Maybe I don't know. I just don't understand why, knowing that he's got all of these limitations, and then the producer coming to tell you that the attorney even said he couldn't come. Why wouldn't that have made you feel better? Why do you choose to just go on with this whole thing of he chose not to show up, he chose, and then you don't even want to talk to him? He called you possibly to explain what the hell was going on, but you didn't even want to talk to him. I don't know. It's just like more stunts. So Marlo, oh, back to Marlo. So Sheree arrives, and Marlo has everything decked out for her. She's got the food, she's got the masseuse, she's got the Fendi salesman. I don't know if all the stuff that she bought from the Fendi salesman, if that was from Marlo or if Sheree was paying for all of that, but it came out to $11,000. Marlo and Sheree have a heart-to-heart conversation about Tyrone. And Marlo was basically like, girl, you're better than this. You don't deserve this. You know, he made you go to, she called it Dirty Philly. He made you go to Dirty Philly to go wait for him. He stood you up. Just let it go. Forget about this man. Block him and just move on with your life because you deserve better. Marlo shows her the picture of Sheree sitting at that cafe all by herself. And Sheree starts crying. But I don't know if she even had real tears. I just don't, like I said before, I don't understand. If some random person took this picture of her at this cafe, why is it automatic? Or maybe it's not assumed by the public that she was waiting or that she was being stood up. It was because Sheree knew what was going on in that picture. And that's why she felt bad. I just don't understand. So moving on from that, Sonya's cooking class. So everybody's there except for Drew. Kenya asked if Sonya's mom cooked every day for the family. And the mom says, well, we just got the kitchen done. And then Sonya says, yeah, we've been renovating the home. And so then Marlo was like, oh, so you bought a fixer-upper. And Sonya was like, no, it's not a fixer-upper. It's not a fixer-upper. She was like really defensive about that. Like, what's wrong? Like, why were you defensive about that, Sonya? Because it's going to make it look like you don't have any money if you bought a fixer-upper as opposed to a house that was already ready to be moved into. That was weird. So Kenya starts coughing, and Candy was like, oh, I'm not trying to get sick. And Marlo tells Kenya that you should have stayed home like the way you stayed home for Sheree's single ladies night. You know, you show up to this event coughing and hacking up, but you didn't even show up for Sheree. So that just shows, you know, what a sorry friend you are. So Marlo asked if she asked Sheree, can she talk about the whole Tyrone situation? Because she told Candy about the whole Tyrone situation. And Candy was like, oh, I already knew about it. And so Sheree was like, well, if you knew about it, why didn't you tell me that you knew about it? Why didn't you call me up to see if I was okay? And Candy said, well, I wasn't going to just call you up out of nowhere and be all up in your business like that. So I was waiting for you, you know, to talk about it first. I wasn't just going to bring it up. So Sheree says in her confessional that that's 2 strikes for Candy for not being there for her. The first time was when Candy was gossiping about her, and the second time was this right here. And so Kenya said how sad she felt when she saw Sheree crying. She felt really bad for Sheree. And Sheree said, well, that's why I would have thought Kenya, that's why I would have thought you would have been there for me. If you're feeling so bad about it and you were feeling so sad for me, then you should have been there for me at the ladies' night dinner, single ladies' night dinner. Well, Kenya said, well, I had planned to come, but I gotten sick and the doctor recommended that I get tested. And so then Marlo said, well, do you have proof of that? And she says, you go to the doctor all glammed up like that. So the situation is just Marlo trying to make Kenya look bad, like she's not a good enough friend for Sheree because she chose to do something else instead of going to this ladies' night thing that Marlo had planned for Sheree. So I feel like Kenya really was sick. I feel like Kenya was really looking out for both Sheree and Marlo by not showing up and getting everybody else sick. But then when she got cleared, I'm thinking when her test came back negative, that's when she's now showing up to this whole cooking class, and she's showing up to other things because she got clearance from her test results or from her doctor or whatever, saying that she was good to go. So I didn't understand what the big deal was. I didn't understand why Marlo was just making a really big deal about Kenya not showing up. Now she even sent Drew to bring the stuff that she was supposed to bring, so she cared enough that this stuff showed up, whatever this stuff was, cupcake mix and whatever else. So she still made the attempt to make sure that the night wasn't completely ruined without her. So they start bickering. They're going back and forth. And then Mama Joyce, she shuts it all down. She tells them, don't stop arguing about this. It's stupid. And then she says, she's like, okay, so what happened after that? And so Sheree said that she blocked his number, but she may not block it forever. And everybody was like, no, girl, you need to block that number and block it forever. Okay, fine. So Marlo got on Sonia for not inviting her and Sheree to the photo shoot. And Marlo, she was like, I don't understand why you invited everybody but us. And then, I guess Sonia was talking about, well, I connected with these other women better than I connected with y'all, whatever. So Marlo steps out with Sheree because they want to gossip. And so they start talking about Candy. I mean, they talked about Candy really bad. They said that Candy was a hoe, that, she wasn't good enough, so nobody ever wanted to marry her because she was like sleeping around with a whole bunch of celebrities, but they all thought that, her love game was trash, so nobody wanted to put a ring on it, so she had to marry below her tax bracket, talking about Todd. And I'm thinking, Sheree, I know, Sheree, that you're not sitting here participating in this conversation about Candy marrying below her tax bracket when you're dating a whole entire ex-con. Where does he work? How much does he make? What's his tax bracket, Sheree? So after that, they start talking about Kenya, how she's just a video hoe and how she couldn't, no one ever wanted to put a ring on it. I mean, they just went in on these two women. I don't understand why. Like, I just didn't understand. I think Marlo it was just too much. It was just, especially the whole thing with Candy. It was just way too much. Just way too much. Anyway, that is my review. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this content, subscribe. If you don't like this content, don't worry about it. On your way out, rate the video, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.